There is a moment in every conscious person's life when silence becomes more powerful than explanation, more influential than argument, more revealing than confession. A moment when saying nothing is not avoidance, but authority. A moment when withdrawing your words is the exact force that exposes the truth. Most people never reach that moment. They keep talking, defending, clarifying, over-explaining, hoping their voice will create peace. But what if the opposite is true? What if your silence is the one thing the world cannot manipulate? What if not responding is the most intelligent response a conscious human being can offer? Plato hinted at this thousands of years ago, not in a direct teaching, but in a forgotten philosophical undercurrent, the power of the unspoken. He suggested that wisdom isn't measured by what we express, but by what we choose not to give away. Today, you'll see how silence becomes a mirror, a boundary, a weapon, and ultimately, a form of awakening. And before we go deeper, I'll ask you this. If you've ever been misunderstood, drained by constant explanations, or exhausted by conversations that go nowhere, then stay with me until the end, because what you'll hear today may shift how you communicate forever. To understand the secret power of saying nothing, we must uncover the hidden psychological pattern behind human communication. Most people talk for one of three subconscious reasons: to control how others see them, to avoid discomfort, to keep the illusion of connection alive. Plato believed that human behavior is shaped more by fear of truth than truth itself, and nothing exposes truth faster than silence. This is the part society never teaches. People do not fear your words. They fear the reflection your silence forces them to see, because when a conscious person withdraws their voice, the insecure person confronts their insecurity. The manipulator confronts their loss of control. The narcissist confronts their inability to extract validation. The chaotic mind confronts the calm it cannot shake. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a psychological spotlight. It highlights the exact place where someone is operating from. And here's the deeper mechanism Plato implied. The one who speaks least holds the most power, because they reveal nothing while observing everything. Modern psychology agrees. When you stop explaining yourself, the projection mechanisms of others activate. They reveal their assumptions, their fears, their intentions, much faster than they would if you kept talking. Saying nothing becomes a diagnostic tool for consciousness, not a retreat, not a weakness, a philosophical stance, a way of saying, I choose not to participate in illusions. Let me tell you a symbolic story. There was once a person known simply as the unseen individual. They lived in a crowded city, surrounded by noise, arguments in markets, gossip in alleyways, constant commentary from people who confused speaking with thinking. The unseen individual was different. They listened more than they spoke. They observed more than they reacted. They understood more than they revealed. But because they were quiet, people misread them. Some called them passive. Some called them mysterious. Some felt threatened by their stillness. And some, especially the loud ones, could not tolerate them at all. One day, a group of villagers approached the unseen individual with a complaint. They accused them of arrogance. Why don't you speak? Why don't you defend yourself? Why don't you share your opinions like everyone else? The unseen individual smiled softly and said nothing. This silence infuriated the crowd. Their anger grew. Their assumptions multiplied. Their projections spiraled. In the absence of words, they revealed more about themselves than about the quiet person they were accusing. Later, a wise elder approached the unseen individual and asked, "Why do you remain silent when others demand your voice?" The unseen individual replied, "Because their demand does not come from truth. They do not want clarity. They want confirmation of the story they've already written about me. My silence protects me from entering their illusion." The elder nodded, understanding something the world often forgets. Most conversations are not about communication, they're about ego preservation. The unseen individual's silence wasn't absence, It was refusal, a refusal to participate in games that had nothing to do with truth. And that refusal gave them a power the loudest voices could never match. Now we reach the moment of inner transformation. There comes a day when a sensitive, thoughtful person realizes something profound. They have been using words to negotiate for peace, to soften conflict, to maintain harmony, to prevent misunderstandings, to protect relationships. But then one quiet moment changes everything. Maybe they explain themselves for the 100th time, and nothing changes. Maybe they try to reason with someone who doesn't want to understand them. Maybe they justify their boundaries to people who only honor boundaries when they benefit from them. And suddenly, like a light breaking through fog, the realization strikes. My words are being used against me. This awareness doesn't come loudly. It arrives like a slow exhale, a quiet heaviness in the chest, an internal knowing that explanations have become emotional labor. This is the internal shift. The person stops speaking from fear and begins speaking from truth, which often means speaking far less. Silence becomes clarity. Silence becomes a boundary. Silence becomes an act of self-respect. Not because they are shutting down, but because they finally understand. You don't owe anyone your energy. You don't owe anyone your emotional accessibility. You don't owe anyone your constant explanations. You don't owe anyone participation in conversations that disrespect your intelligence or your peace. The internal shift is not about becoming quieter. It's about becoming selective, and that selectivity changes everything. But awakening always invites resistance. Once a conscious person stops over-explaining, the world reacts. Suddenly people say, "You're being distant. You're cold. You've changed. You're hiding something. You're not communicating." Why? Because your silence removes the oxygen that their illusions used to breathe. When you stop feeding insecure people with reassurance, they panic. When you stop feeding manipulative people with emotional responses, they lose their leverage. When you stop feeding disrespectful people with explanations, they feel the weight of their behavior for the first time. And so conflict emerges, not because you said something wrong, but because you stopped speaking in the language of their comfort. Plato understood this dynamic deeply. He believed that when a person steps out of illusion, they threaten the entire system built on that illusion. The world resists, not because you are wrong, but because you are free. The moment you stop defending yourself, people who benefited from your defensiveness feel destabilized. The moment you stop responding, people who relied on your responses feel powerless. The moment you stop explaining, people who misunderstood you lose the ability to control the narrative. Your silence becomes the mirror they cannot escape. But you, like the unseen individual, begin to see conflict differently. You realize it isn't a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that you are finally choosing yourself. Now, we enter Plato's forgotten wisdom. Plato believed that truth cannot be forced. It can only be revealed, often in the space where no words exist. In the cave metaphor, he showed how people cling to shadows, illusions, and false beliefs. But he also implied something subtle. The awakened individual does not argue with the shadows. They simply walk away from them. That is the philosophical essence of silence. Saying nothing is not withdrawal from communication. It is withdrawal from illusion. Plato suggested that the wise speak only when their words improve the inner order of the soul. Meaning, if speaking disrupts your peace, compromises your integrity, or entangles you in someone else's distortions, silence is the superior choice. And here is the revelation most people miss. Silence is not empty, it is full of truth. Words are not always truth. Often they are full of noise. Silence is the highest form of discernment. The place where your consciousness reorganizes itself. The space where you return to yourself. From Plato's lens, silence is not the absence of communication. It is communication at its purest level. Communication without distortion. And the world that misunderstands silence is the world still living in its cave. Here are 4 principles that help you apply the secret power of saying nothing with consciousness, not avoidance. 1. Silence as boundary. Use silence not to punish others, but to protect your peace. If a conversation violates your dignity, do not explain your exit. Your absence is enough. 2. Silence as discernment. Before responding, ask, is this conversation seeking truth or feeding ego? If the answer is ego, withdraw. 3. Silence as reflection. Use stillness to observe intentions. Silence lets you see the emotional motives behind words: fear, insecurity, control, projection. Often the truth reveals itself without you needing to intervene. 4. Silence as power. When you speak only from clarity, not reaction, your words gain weight. Silence magnifies your presence. It sharpens your boundaries. It elevates your consciousness. The goal is not to become mute. The goal is to speak only from alignment, not pressure, not fear, not obligation. There is a rare strength found in the quiet human being, the one who walks away before chaos begins, the one who speaks only when truth is ready, the one who does not perform their soul for the approval of others. The world misunderstands them, but the world cannot move them, because silence is not emptiness. Silence is self-possession, and the one who has mastered silence has mastered themselves, and the one who has mastered themselves can no longer be controlled. In the end, the deepest wisdom is not shouted, argued, or explained. It is carried quietly by those who understand that the greatest truths are spoken precisely by saying nothing.